So I haven't been able to walk for 6 weeks now. Hey guys, it's Liz, and I am back after almost a year. I feel like I do this every time where I'll film stuff for a few months and then I don't do anything for a year. So that's what I did this time. Today I'm just going to be telling the story of my knee surgery, because I got knee surgery. Also, sorry if I'm talking weird, but like I can't hear out of this ear right now, so I don't know how loud I'm talking. So let me start off by talking about how it all started. So I ice skate and I hike, and then I work at McDonald's, so just like standing on my feet for hours. But last year, like last school year, in the beginning, like my knee started bothering me, but like nothing too bad. Like it would get swollen every once in a while. And then starting in February, my knee started to be swollen every single day, and I had to ice it every couple of hours, like coming in between classes and like after work and everything like that. And I was wearing like my knee brace and stuff because I figured, you know, that would help. But it didn't really do much because my knee consistently was like swollen. So February, around that time I went to the doctor and got it checked out. They did an x-ray. Obviously there was nothing wrong that they could see because it was an x-ray and there was no problems with like the bone or anything. So they had me do physical therapy, and I did it until like May, from like February to May, and it didn't really do anything for me. It didn't help my pain. I remember actually going on spring break and then coming back, I felt good, and then I started physical therapy again and my knee was like more irritated. So like it didn't help whatsoever, but I kept going because like that's what they wanted me to do. And eventually I had to wait for another appointment anyway, so I figured might as well do physical therapy, I guess, because that's supposed to help. So the next appointment, I basically show up and he's like, yeah, are you still having pain? And I was like, yeah, like I'm having a lot of pain. It's really not good. And it's still like swollen, and like you could tell at this point that there was like fluid or something in my knee. And basically that appointment, all they said was, oh, like we can do an MRI if you want, and that was the end of the appointment. So I had to make another appointment for the MRI. I went to the MRI, and then that was the end of that appointment. I had to make another appointment to get the results of the MRI. So for the results of the MRI, they found that I had, I'm trying to think of like the exact phrase, but there was like some kind of like inflamed tissue or something around like my kneecap area. And then I also had, they could see like a partial tear in my meniscus, which like is really not good and explained like a lot of the pain. So at that point, the doctor says that there's a few options. I could do the corticosteroid shots in my knee, which would be painful, or I could go back to physical therapy, which didn't help, so why would I do that? Or I could get surgery. And the surgery is like, I think it's like arthroscopic or something like that. So it's like, it's not like they're taking like all the skin off. They make like 2 incisions and go in. But basically I decided, like me and my mom were like, oh, like we'll just try the shots and see if they help. So I got the shots in my knee and it was very painful. And like at that point, like after I got it done, like I could not walk without any pain at all. Like it hurt so bad. And like it's supposed to hurt after you first get it because they're injecting something into your knee. But basically I kept going to work in the summer and it just kept being painful. So I had to go back to the doctor. I think we called like a month after they gave me like the shot, but they failed to tell us that if I got the shot, I wouldn't be able to get surgery for a couple of months if that's what I wanted to do, because like the steroids like in my system, and it would mess up with either like the anesthesia or like whatever else they're going to do. So they told me that I couldn't get surgery, and I was like, super depressed about that because I just wanted it to be fixed at this point. So eventually, after like calling back, they told me that I could get it as early as August. So I was like, okay, well then let's book a surgery because I want this fixed. So we booked the appointment for August 2nd, and they basically ran through like what they were going to do, and they make like the 2 incisions like I said, and then they go in, and I think they have like a little camera thing so they can see what they're doing, and they like snip off like the partial tear just so it doesn't rub, and they were going to take out like the inflamed like tissue stuff. So I was like, okay, so shouldn't be bad. And he said, we're expecting it to only be a partial tear, so you're only going to be on crutches for a week, and then after that you shouldn't need crutches anymore. And then they said, worst case scenario, if it's fully torn, you're going to be on crutches for 6 weeks. And I was figuring like, oh, like it was only a partial tear, like I should be fine. So by the time I get into surgery and I'm like sitting in the bed with my IV, I was like super, super nervous that it was going to be like fully torn and there was like nothing I could do about it. So I go in for surgery. Last thing I remember is like the super bright lights and then basically just zoning out and not remembering anything. They were like trying to introduce me to all of the doctors' names, but like at that point I was like gone. So they do the surgery, and then the next thing I remember is being in like a recovery bed area, and like they had put the compression stockings on my legs, or well, I already had the left one on, but they put the right one on, and then they put on like a stiff brace where my leg is like completely straight. There's bars on like all 3 sides so that I can't bend it at all. I remember waking up like super groggy, like not knowing what was going on, and nobody really told me like what had happened either. Like the doctor, none of the like the nurses or anything like told me anything. So I still don't know what's going on. And then I go into like a like recovery area compared to like where I was to like wake up, I guess. And they got my parents in there, and then my mom started talking to me, and she was like, oh, like, so, like, you know what happened, right? And I was like, no, like, nobody told me anything. And she's like, oh, well, your meniscus was fully torn, so they had to go in and, like, sew it up. And, they took out the inflamed tissue, that was fine. And apparently I also had a hairline fracture, and I also have arthritis in my knee, so that's fun. Can't get rid of that. But I woke up and I was so depressed, like unbelievably depressed, that I would be on crutches, not walking for 6 weeks. And like there was like a lot of pain in my knee too. It was rough. I remember I had to sit in the car, but I had to like sit in the back seat, so I like scooched my butt up and then I slid, and like my leg was like just kind of like straight out because like obviously I can't bend it. So that's how I had to sit in the car for like the first 2 weeks. And then at like the post-op, they talked about giving me like a new brace, and then they're like, oh, like the insurance hasn't cleared it yet. So like then we had to wait for them to call back so I could get the new brace that bends up to 90 degrees, which is what I'm in now. But yeah, basically I have to lock it like this when like I'm moving, and then I can unlock it if I'm just like sitting there. So like right now I have it unlocked, and like if I go to sit in the car, obviously it's unlocked, so I don't have to have like a straight leg. But like honestly, it was a really rough experience, like especially because it was right at the end of summer, right before going back to college. So I had to watch all these people do all these fun things, like go to the beach and go to amusement parks and like stuff like that, when I was literally sitting on the couch, basically bedridden, I guess, but like on the couch. So I had to sit there with like 2 pillows stacked up, and my leg had to be like elevated on top of it. And I had ice packs like on and off like every 20 minutes, and I basically just sat there and watched the entire series The Office for like the 3rd time, and I finished it within a week, which is like, that shows you how much time I spent on the couch. But it was really rough because like not being able to do anything and not being able to participate in stuff is just like really hard, especially when you see other people like having fun and having a good time and you're just there and you're like, well, I can't really do anything, you know? Like I tried going to the mall and like crutching around, like going with friends, and like it was so hard to use my crutches going around the mall. Like I was so exhausted. Like the mall near me that I go to is huge and it was like semi-recently renovated, so like there's so many sections and stuff, but like I got so tired. I couldn't go like 20 feet without having to take a break. But so then end of August comes around. I went to the state fair with my parents, and basically I was in a wheelchair the whole time, so my dad had to like push me around the state fair. And then the next day I had to go back to school. So obviously I'm still on crutches. I still can't walk, can't put pressure on my foot. So my parents had to unpack all of my stuff for moving into like a townhouse. And then I had to basically set everything up, but like on crutches, which is kind of not fun. So being at school on crutches is like super difficult because I have to crutch all the way over to the bus stop, and then that drops me off like a few buildings away from like the building I have my classes in. So I had to crutch from the bus stop to my building, and let's just say I was exhausted. I was sweating. I felt like I was dying, and it just was not a good case scenario. Like I was so depressed about the whole situation, and like thinking like for the next 3 weeks of classes I have to crutch there and crutch back and like try to catch the bus. It was just impossible. Like oh my god, I thought about like letting my teachers know like, oh, like I can't make it to class, can I take it online and stuff like that. Luckily my dad rented me like a scooter so I could make it to class. So I hop on the scooter and I grab my crutches and my backpack, and then I scooter over to my building, which takes like 10 minutes, and then I can use my crutches to get into my seat with my backpack and stuff. But it's been so much better now that I have a scooter to get around. Like I'm not like super depressed about stuff anymore, I guess. I mean, it sucks not being able to walk, but part of the problem with like getting my knee injury could have been a combination of like hiking and work and ice skating. So I am on like the ice skating team at my school, so now like I can't do anything, so I have to like sit there and watch, and it's kind of very sad and lonely. But like hopefully by the time November comes around I'll be on the ice again. I don't know. I mean, it should be like expected recovery is 3 months, which is like November 2nd, so I'm just really hoping for that. And then a week from this Monday, which is today right now, the time I'm filming, I have my next doctor's appointment, and I'm hoping that that is when I can start to put weight on my foot, and hopefully I can start driving too, because that would be a huge help. So yeah, that's basically my story. Oh, also, a tip. Put cushy things on your crutches. It helps a lot. These are my soakers for my ice skates, so like they just kind of like ploop onto the blade so it doesn't rust, but like they work just as good for crutches, so it's a little tip. But yeah, so I'm doing a little bit better. Still not fun. We had a fire drill this morning and I had to crutch down the stairs at 6 a.m. I don't want to do that again. That's about it for this video. I just wanted to like do a little update, and like also partially this video is for me to look back on for like how I was feeling after the surgery and stuff, because like I've been having lots of knee pain in my left knee too. So I'm just really hoping that the same thing doesn't happen with the left knee. But if it does, I have this video to look back on. So I guess that's it. Remember guys, never go with the flow, always be you. Bye!